Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. So this is the Amuse S2000 GT1 Turbo and this is going to be a 700PP build. Now this car is pushing over 600 brake horsepower and weighs just under 1200 kilograms, and it is absolutely brilliant to drive. A lot of fun, and it is definitely one of those cars you want to build for yourself if you want to give yourself a little challenge on these 700PP races rather than just running away with it. So grab yourself your Amuse S2000 GT1 Turbo and follow me to the tuning shop. So now we're at the tuning shop. The first thing you're going to want to do is ignore the sports section entirely. You don't need anything from there. Club sports, you're going to want to make sure the power restrictor and ballast are purchased on there, if they're not already. Semi-racing, make sure you've got your fully customizable computer, your fully customizable LSD, your fully customizable manual transmission, and your increased body rigidity. Under racing, make sure the racing silence is selected, the racing brake kit, the brake balance controller, the fully customizable suspension, and grab yourself a set of racing hard tyres. Under extreme, you want a set of intermediates. We all know what happens at Cirque de la Sarthe. And under ultimate, there's nothing you can get there. So it's pretty simple, pretty easy for what you need from that section. So now what you need to do is follow me over to GT Auto and we'll continue the rest of this build. So now we're at GT Auto, go to car customization, and what you want to do is select your set of wheels. As you can see, I've gone for these Polcal wheels, the DR5s, and all you want to do is make sure you've got rim diameter 18 inch, your rim width wide, and your offset standard. Make sure that they're installed on there. Once you've got those installed, just make sure you go to your custom parts and that your front is standard and your wing is standard. Now the reason for that is there's not a lot you need to change on the actual car. It's all done within the settings itself. So if you do want your car to look a bit different, maybe you want the wing gone or a custom wing set, that is also fine. And that's the same for the front. If you want Type A or just a standard part, that's okay as well. If you like, you can always go to load style, just like I did on this one, and you can just choose then a selection, go to content search, and it'll come up then with all the different designs that all these fantastic people have made, and that's what you can do there. And as you can see on the screen, that's the person who's made this one, who I'm very thankful for. So now you've done that, let's head back to the garage and get into your car settings where we can get this tuned up, ready to go. So now back at the garage, as you can see, is the tuning sheet. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you've got your racing hard tyres on. And then under your body height adjustments, you want the front to be 130, rear 115. Your anti-roll bar, 10 at the front, 3 at the rear. Your dampen ratio compression, 40 at the front and 20 at the rear. On the expansion, you want 45 at the front and 30 at the rear. Now your natural frequency, that should be 3.55 at the front and 2.65 at the rear. Negative camber angle should be 3 front and rear. Now your toe in angle at the front should be 0.01 and your toe in angle at the rear should be 0.15. Moving down to your initial torque, it should be 15 at the rear, your acceleration sensitivity 15 and your braking sensitivity should be 20. Now your downforce, you want the front to be 250 and the rear 550. Your ECU, keep that at 100%. Performance adjustment, you want a ballast of 76 kilograms and a ballast positioning of -49. And your power restrictor should stay at 100% as well. Now on your top speed, you want to make sure that that's adjusted to 300 km/h. And then you go to manual adjustment, and these are the gears that you're going to want to enter in there. So first gear, you want 2.632. Second gear, 2.005. Third gear, 1.604. Fourth gear, 1.330. Fifth gear, 1.131. Sixth gear, 0.984. And seventh gear, 0.869. And it was a final drive of 3.921. So this thing's revs over 8,600 RPM, and as I mentioned before, it does have over 600 brake horsepower It's fantastic to drive and it's very easy to handle. So just make sure the only key thing is that when you're braking, do it in a straight line, not while you're turning. Obviously being rear wheel drive, as soon as you hit the accelerator you're just going to spin around. This car is phenomenal in every other way. That is one thing you do need to keep an eye on. Now, a lot of you know already, I do use a steering wheel and pedals. I don't use a pad. I have used this on the PlayStation Portal and found it very easy to use on there. I suppose that's the same as using it on a pad, just obviously with a screen in the middle. But apart from that, I found this thing to be brilliant to drive either way. Please let me know in the comments below what you found. And what I'll do now is I'll just go what I thought was a very good way to go through the process of a race at Circuit du Soleil for you to get used to. I found a few little things that were a bit different to try, and I did make a massive cock up. I sneezed while turning a corner and crashed. I wouldn't advise that to anyone, especially on a steering wheel and pedal setup. Okay, let's get into this one. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're starting this race is make sure that you have fuel map 6. So make sure it's all the way to lean, and you'll see that laps remaining will go to 2 and then it'll start dropping down. Now, one thing that I did trial while doing this race was actually half shifting, or letting the bar get halfway and then shifting. And the reason for that is just to see how far I could improve that fuel consumption. And if you're willing to do that, it means you can pit once, maybe twice if you really needed to. Obviously weather dependent, and that would give you a better fuel return for what your driving style is. If you're like me and you just like flooring it and making sure you're getting the maximum out of the car, then this is where you just want to go for it. Narrowly avoided that smash, so I'm pretty glad I backed off. As you see, as you start hitting that Mulsanne straight, your laps remaining has hit 2, and depending, again, like I say, on your driving style, you can actually get 3 laps out of this car. It is at a push, so bear that in mind, but I would advise just sticking to that 2-lap rule and making sure you keep an eye on that weather as it starts coming in, because it does get pretty sketchy on this track, as we all know. So at this point now, 17 minutes and 45 seconds left, and I'm slightly behind the leaders because of that pit stop, but I have gained dramatically from where I was when I left. So it's only a couple of seconds in, and you know that Portier is going to pit now because he normally pits on lap 3, so that's perfectly fine. You can also see on the graphic on the bottom right, the weather radar, you can see that that's pretty much gone. So stopping onto those tyres has been a bit of an advantage for me. Fresh tyres, the track's going to dry out, you're going to be able to keep putting those steady laps in. So I did look down the right hand side, and then I darted to the left because I realised he was pitting. And then you just take that final chicane, cross the line, and then this is where you're going to start lap 4. As you can see, I'm just leaving the pits here now with just over 11 minutes left. The weather looks fine. Fuel map 6, 2.5 litres of fuel basically, or 2.5 laps of fuel, sorry, looking good. Taking these corners quite tight. Half shifting just to see if I could get that fuel to increase a little bit more. As I say, I was doing this as a test. But then what I later found on this lap was, look at the weather map. Look what happened halfway round. So as I get to the halfway down the Mulsanne straight, it goes green on the weather radar. It just starts absolutely tipping it down. So the car was still very responsive at that point. I just needed to make sure to brake a lot earlier, and I was a lot more careful, as I say, being rear wheel drive. As you can see, 7 minutes left, just coming into the last couple of corners now, and I sneezed and that was it. I spun straight off into the gravel. Nothing major, managed to save it from smashing into the barrier and wasting more time. I did run up a 43-second lead over Portier. So while I had a free pit stop, I jumped in, some fresh hard tyres on, and then what that means then is I can run fuel map 6, last 2 laps, and bring it home for the win. Another nice, simple, nimble car for you to add to your collection. So don't forget, these builds are great for your weekly challenges as well as the usual money races. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of this one. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of these amazing builds in the future. And if you have a car you want to see built specifically for a race, please let me know in the comments below.